Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. This is chapter 3 of Keep It Shut. It's titled Stop Filling the Gap. And the Bible verse is Psalm chapter 34 verse 11. Come my children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. See how much of this we can get done before we have to go into a part 2. My family calls me the gap filler. I'm not sure I'm too keen on that nickname, but I guess I earned it fair and square. For as long as I can remember, I have loved to talk. My gift for gab was what my relatives commented on when I was little. My constant chatter entertained not only my neighborhood friends, but also their moms, who reported all the highlights to my mother. There's nothing cuter than a precocious little girl who has a winning way with words. However, once the little girl begins to grow up, her gift of gab can become a detriment rather than a delight. And I got my first taste of the detriment side of the equation in elementary school. As a young girl, I simply loved going to school. Even the awful scratchy tights under my dresses didn't keep me from feeling intense excitement each day as I walked a quarter of a mile down the country road to catch the school bus. I loved to read and to write. I even liked figuring out those mind-bending math story problems. Excelling in school soon became my pastime, and I was rather competitive about it. As my classmates and I sat working on a test, I tried my best to not only answer all of the questions correctly, but also to hurry. Somehow being the first one to rise from my blonde wooden desk and walk my paper up to the front of the class to flip it upside down on the teacher's desk made me feel important. My instructor's opinion meant a great deal to me. I wanted her to think I was smart, to think I was cooperative and kind. And so I tried my best to be all of these things. Can you say overachiever? I knew you could. And then I waited with anxious anticipation every time parent-teacher conferences rolled around. The only other woman I cared more about impressing besides my teacher was my sweet mother. Now this was the 70s. Our parents would return home from the school building that night clutching a canary yellow piece of paper. On the paper was a little chart that graphed out all the various subjects I was taking, as well as the behavioral areas I was being evaluated on. Of course, reading, writing, and arithmetic were a big part of this evaluation. But there were also other items on the list. In addition to academics like science and social studies, there were electives such as music and art and gym. Beyond all the coursework, there were categories for classroom behavior, including things like politeness, cooperativeness with classmates. When there are 30 students in a room all trying to make a papier-mâché replica of the ancient Mayan ruins, learning to get along is crucial. Another character quality was respect. Did the student show respect not only to the teachers but also to other students? Line after line detailed the character qualities for rating the stunning student I wanted to be. For each of the academic subjects as well as the behavioral characteristics, a teacher could check one of 5 boxes. Very good, good, average, needs improvement, and poor. Oh, how I loved seeing all of the very good and good boxes checked on the progress report my mom brought home. My identity was completely tied up in being the smart and model student. However, year after year there was one section in which I did not earn a very good or even a good score. In the pesky little box called listening skills. The highest rating I ever got was probably average. And more often than not, I saw a big fat check mark in the needs improvement box. Karen is a delightful student, my teacher exclaimed as she visited with my mother during those parent-teacher powwows. But she does seem to have a tad bit of trouble listening, especially when I am talking. When my mother inquired whether I had trouble following instructions, the teacher assured her I had no trouble with that. Apparently, I could still take note of the instructions while my lips were moving. The issue was my willingness to listen when the teacher was talking or another student had the floor for a minute or two. Still, I couldn't seem to keep my little jaws from flapping. I just had to add my 2 cents worth. Whenever there was a gap of silence in the teacher's speech or another student's comment, you could count on me to fill in the gap. And I'm sure, in my defense, I felt that what I had to say was way more interesting than whoever else was talking at the time, including my instructor. It always bummed me out when my teacher reported that I didn't listen so well and I talked too much. But it didn't bother me enough to motivate a change in my behavior. I liked filling those gaps, and to tell the truth, I still do. When a group of people are chatting and there is even a small lull in the conversation, if I am not intentional about reining in my tongue, I will rush right in to fill that gap, and fill it good. My husband says my ability to talk is what first attracted him to me. He loved how I could work a room, making the shy ones feel included. I could converse with the college president and yuck it up with the grocery store bag boy all in the same afternoon. Yep, my college sweetheart loved how I could talk. So this rather shy guy brought a ring, slipped it on my finger, grabbed my hand, and off we proceeded down the church aisle and into marital bliss. My proficiency at all things linguistic hadn't bothered him before. In fact, he had felt it was an asset. I talked and talked. He smiled and listened, and it really didn't seem to bother him. Then, about 3 days into our honeymoon, he had this thought. When is she ever gonna shut up? In fact, if I make it to heaven before he does, he's decided just what should go on my tombstone. A period. Ask him why, and he'll declare, well, she'll finally be done yakking. He insists my language has no periods, just commas, colons, semicolons, because there's always more to come. In a group Bible study or a visit with friends over coffee, I can easily monopolize the conversation. And in the early days, I didn't even know it was happening. I just assumed everyone was as dazzled by my words as I was. I'm not sure how I was first enlightened, but I soon came to discover that often when I was talking, other people in the room were mentally checking out. Or I noticed there were other women in the Bible study or the play group who never seemed to give their 2 cents worth. I just couldn't figure this out. Didn't they have anything to say? Didn't they have something to add to the discussion? Eventually, I came to realize that perhaps the problem wasn't with the other people in the group. Maybe I was too ready to jump in the minute where there was a gap in the conversation. Maybe the other folks needed a pause or two for their thoughts to gel before they could speak them. And maybe, just maybe, if some of us who talk too much would actually zip our lips a minute, then these people could have an opportunity to speak up more often. I knew that things were going to have to change for me if I wanted to use my words well and shed my habit of gap filling. In fact, over the years, I have developed a practice or two to help in this endeavor. The first is a little rule of thumb, or rule of tongue perhaps. I only chime in or respond to the question thrown out by the study leader about every third time I think I have something to say. And you know what? It comes out just about right, and no one seems to suffer from not hearing the nuggets I withhold. Here's another practice. I pause before I pipe up. It works in a group. It also works one-on-one. When the person with whom I'm chatting pauses, it doesn't always mean they have finished what they want to say. They may still be mentally composing the next sentence. When I take their pause as a green light, that it's my turn to talk, I may actually be interrupting instead. No, not in a rude way, interjecting mid-sentence, but by butting in before they've finished their thoughts. Pausing for a moment before I pipe up helps me to be both courteous and understanding. A person who seeks not only to listen but to understand as well is rare, a treasure, and rare treasures are priceless. When we make listening and understanding our aim, we become valuable treasures in the lives of those around us. I'm going to end this chapter right here. So this is part 1, and I hope you all have had a very wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow for part 2. Have a good day. Bye.